Hello everybody, this is Llodg, and today I'm going to be talking about the Live Alive demo that recently came out on the Nintendo Switch. This demo allows you to play the first 30 minutes of 3 characters and allows you to carry over that progress you've done to the actual game, which I will always really like. And before I actually get into the demo, I thought I would talk about what Live Alive is, since I'm sure some people don't really know its story. So it first came out as a Super Famicom game, that's right, Famicom, not SNES. Because this game has never officially released outside of Japan because it was during that time of JRPGs where companies had a real habit of only localizing certain series that would most likely do well in the West, so Final Fantasy IV and VI were brought over but 5 wasn't. Though of course some people have done fan translations to have more people experience this game. So this game is pretty important since so many people haven't been able to actually play this game yet. So yeah, this is the first of Square Enix's HD-2D games that they are actually remaking, the other one being Dragon Quest III, which is pretty hype. So yeah, since I haven't heard much about this game until that Nintendo Direct, this is the first time I'm actually hearing about the game. Also, when that trailer first came on, I saw a dinosaur skull and for some reason thought it was a Chrono Trigger HD-2D remake. So yeah, I was a little disappointed, but I think this was a good decision to actually produce this game. And yeah, I think that's everything I want to talk about before actually getting into the demo, so let's do this. So you start the demo with a short opening cutscene that runs through all the characters of the game and what they'll be doing in these quick flashes as the title gets spelled out. As you can probably tell, this game lets you play through 7 characters, different stories. And I have to say, based on what I saw, this game seemed to be very similar to Square Enix's first HD-2D game, Octopath Traveler, in the sense that there are different characters' paths that you can take, and different stories within these paths. However, in that game, I know the characters can meet up eventually since they're in the same world, but in Live Alive it takes place in different times in history, so I'm not sure if they'll have them converge at all. But we don't have to worry about that too much in this demo, because out of the 7 we can only choose 3 of them to play through, and luckily we were actually able to play through all 3 of them without having to delete save data at all. So we get to choose between Imperial China, Twilight of the Edo Japan, and Distant Future, which I have to say, it's kind of weird that 2 of the choices seem to be similar time, history, and technology wise. I would almost think they would try to base them on variety, that they would choose one that was set in a very different time, but oh well. And I chose Distant Future as the first one I'd play because it was the one the most far left, I guess. So we begin by being on a spaceship with apparently some suspicious cargo, and one human wakes up out of his cryosleep. His name is Kato. And he goes to fix up and finally start up his project, this little robot. Which is us, and eventually after going through a few different names, lets us choose the name. But for this video, I'll just be choosing the name that the game has originally, just not to be confusing for all the characters that we do get to name. So this little robot is named Cube, for irony. After some tests to make sure we know how to use the map and walk around the ship, we wake up the rest of the crewmates, and I'm not going to be going into too much detail about the personalities because of how short this demo chapter is, and we don't get too much time with them anyway, so I'll just tell you their names. We have Rachel, Kirk, Huey, and Corporal Darth, and yeah, you can pretty much tell what these characters' personalities are just simply by looking at their character designs. Anyway, now that they're all up and awake and introduced to us, they go and hear from the captain of the ship, but before we actually see him, we talk with the crew a little bit and eventually get punted by Darth, because apparently he really hates robots, and I'm guessing that the story of this chapter is that the robots attacked or something, and Darth just goes on to hate them. It'll probably become clear in the actual game. And I'm not sure if he's on the actual ship or just somewhere else because we never get to see him physically, just on this TV or another communication device, but we tell the captain of the status of the crew and introduce them to Cube, and everyone else goes and gets to their actual work on the ship. So when everyone else is working, we go up to the bridge and talk to Rachel, and it turns out that something in the communication system has gone wrong, and after trying to figure out what is best to do, they decide to have 2 people doing outside inspection of the array, and this actually feels like an actual problem that could actually happen on a spaceship. Having no communication with Earth seems like a pretty big problem, even if these guys are all professionals, so it's nice that while this problem isn't something that would blow up the ship, it's still something that they would want to fix as soon as possible. Anyway, after some conflict between some of the crew members, Kato and Kirk suit up and slowly walk out into space. I mean, it's a very slow walk that we just have to watch. Then we go back to the bridge to monitor the progress, and...
Kirk, do you copy?
Loud and clear. Everything's fine. Huh? I can't... Kirk? Kirk!
What's happening? Kirk? Kirk, respond! Someone talk to me!
I'm I've got him. But there's something wrong with his suit.
And that's the end of the demo. Yeah, this is a pretty good end for the demo, at least from a story perspective, but we literally had like no real gameplay, only walking and talking, which is a little disappointing, but we do have 2 other chapters to help that out. And I have to say, I am intrigued to know what is happening in the story, but with that, let's get into the next chapter, Edo, Japan. We saw this chapter by seeing someone sit in a room and then to be joined by 3 other beings. There's like a spirit, some symbol, and then another who at least resembles a person. The main guy is owed IOU, and he has a plan to apparently have Japan go to war with itself using these puppets that they're mentioning, and I'm not really sure, but in the main game it'll probably make more sense. Then he'll ask about his plan working out. Then we cut to another house and see a ninja drop from the ceiling. And after a short conversation where this master doesn't want Hayate to go on this mission, we learn that there is a shinobi under training that should be able to carry out this mission, and he is Aburumaru. Also, sorry if I'm mispronouncing anything, they don't really say the character's name in this game, even though the game is all voice acted. But it turns out we were here all along, and before we set out, we learn a move that allows to remain hidden from enemies as long as you hold down the Y button, which will allow you to hide your way through enemies and not have to battle them. Now we are finally on our way and get this cool speech about what the shinobi are and what we are doing while running and gliding into the enemy base. And here's where the actual game starts, and we get a map of the base and are forced to infiltrate it. And to remain stealthy, we are able to sneak our way past guards and enemies. And man, I really think this chapter in particular really shows how good the HD-2D graphic style can look. I just love the lighting and everything about this. Anyway, as we were trying to stealth by them, and by that I mean hiding and hoping the guards will walk past us, because sometimes they'll just love to walk back and forth, and we can't move in this stealthy state, we get inside and overhear something pretty important.
Now then, let's go over the hourly passwords once more. Mountain!
River! Potato?
An imposter! Take him away!
So yeah, they have this system of passwords to make sure no one is able to sneak in, and every time a bell is heard, the password will switch between River and Origin, but it's not like you really have to remember it and listen for the bell because your character will mention when the password changes. As we were sneaking through the base, there are chances where if you don't hide, you will be attacked. However, some of these fights are extremely hard to win, and I did die a few times and just went back to the stealth thing. But the battle system is pretty cool, and you are on a grid, and certain attacks are able to go at different ranges, and some enemies even have weaknesses or resistances to certain attacks. But yeah, in this chapter at least, I was terrible at the combat and died many times. However, eventually there were these women enemies, and they are easy to kill. But after everyone I did kill, my character would say how many lives were taken, so I thought that maybe I shouldn't kill any that I don't really have to, because maybe it would count against me later. So I just kept going and tried not to kill anyone until I met these guys at the gate, because I thought I had to go through there, so I took their lives, and it turns out
It's shut from the inside.
So for a while, I was just kind of confused with where to go since there turned out to be some hidden doors. After going through many rooms and going on this bed, we make it to an attic and see these 2 rats. I mean, they're called rats, but they really look like people and even talk about their clans, so I'm not sure why they're called rats. Anyway, they make a sound and alert the guy below, and the father ends up being stabbed, so we learn to be careful, but whoa, that poor son. We get some stuff from the chest, and you can even look at the 4 belows with these peepholes and see people doing stuff. After watching some people do stuff, I end up going the wrong way and take forever to actually go somewhere productive. Eventually I do go the right way in the attic. I have to sneak past the samurai guy that looks like Shredder from the Ninja Turtles. And yeah, you can see how long some of these guys actually take to walk past you. And here we actually get to do a cool ninja thing and run along rooftops, and man, I'd like to see what this originally looked like on the Super Famicom. There is another attic that you can go into some chests, but it's blocked by all these shinobi, and even though I tried to fight them multiple times, they were just so strong that I just went past them. Then we go to another attic, finally get the storehouse key, and the demo's over. Yeah, I get why the last one ended when it did, because of the cliffhanger, but I just felt like this one ended way too early story-wise, and the game wasn't even that fun to me since most battles were difficult and most likely discouraged. It honestly felt like someone took the control out of my hands right when the game was getting good. And this was the chapter I thought I would like the most since Edo Japan seemed to be the most interesting to me out of the 7, but this demo just didn't do it for me other than the great visuals. And now we move on to the one that I honestly thought I was going to like the least, Imperial China.
In time, all fades from memory. Nevertheless, for the sake of future generations, an old man labors tirelessly to preserve his legacy. A powerful martial art.
And from the get-go we have to name our character Earthen Heart Shifu, and he is an old man who has mastered the arts of Kung Fu and wishes to have a legacy when he is gone. So the main premise of this chapter is finding someone to be able to pass his teachings on to. So we start to look for a disciple, and here there are 3 different points on the map you can go to, and I'm sure you can do them in different orders if you want to. But I first went to the bamboo forest, and before we are attacked by a tiger, we see a flash of something. Then we go on to literally punch and kick the tiger out of existence. And yeah, this is already shaping up to be my favorite chapter. The combat is actually fairly easy at the start, and it makes sense why we don't get even XP because of us already being a master. I don't know, it's just so cool. Anyway, we continue into the forest and pick up some stuff in the grass, and we get my favorite message ever. When we are finally confronted by that which was flashing before us, it's a woman thief who wants all of our money. However, we have no money to give her, and after some talking we go into a fight where we completely stop her. After the fight, we learn that her name is Lei Kugo, and are somehow able to convince her to be our disciple, so maybe she can learn some good manners and not steal from people and actually learn how to fight. Then after finding some more tigers and picking weeds, we go into Wong Village, and some old people are being affected by an illness, but we were able to cure them with the stuff we found in the bamboo forest. As we were talking to some old woman, a young man named Yoon runs into us, but being the Shifu that we are able to dodge him. Yoon is not himself recently, and we see him talking to lots of buff men, and learn that he was stealing from people, but apparently being really bad at it. And Yoon decides that he's going to stop being a thief, however these buff men aren't going to let him do it, and are going to attack him. We are easily able to get past the guard.
Pardon me?
And we get into another battle where we are easily able to take out these 3 guys and make them run away, thus saving Yoon. Yoon thanks us and asks us to make him our disciple, and I don't know why we say no. Like, aren't we looking for as many disciples as possible? Is it because we already have Lei? I don't know, but we decline to walk into Yunfan Market to find.
Stop! Stop! You've got to pay for that!
So yeah, this guy's just going into restaurants and eating food without paying for them. Anyway, they catch him and try to make him pay, but he doesn't actually have any money because he is jobless. We're able to convince the restaurant owner of letting this guy go, and we tell him he has the potential and we'll train him as his job and pay him in food, so at least he won't be stealing and he'll be able to work on his potential. And I have to ask again why we didn't take Yoon on when he asked, because Shifu does take multiple disciples, so it's not like he's against it. I don't know, it's weird. So we walk back to our house to begin training, where we find Yoon, and he begs for us to actually train him, and we finally accept like we should have the first time. So now that we have our 3 disciples, it is time to start training, and we start with knowing what each of them are capable of, by fighting them. And we are able to easily defeat each and every one of them and know what their strengths are and where they lie. We then cut to Shifu thinking to himself before bed and how happy he is to have found these disciples. That's the end of this chapter demo and the demo overall. And I have to say this is by far my favorite of the chapters. Shows off combat well while also having a clear ending to the chapter without feeling like someone just took the control out of my hands. I really thought I would like this chapter the least, but this chapter is the reason that I'm really excited for this game. I think it works so well and made me really want to know how the story goes on and ends. So yeah, I'm glad we got 3 swords instead of 1 because I'm not sure I would have really chosen Imperial China if I had the choice between at least those 3. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about the overall demo now, and man, this game does look really nice. As I said before, even the pause menus look good, and for certain sections, it will change to reflect what your character is doing. That's the kind of detail that I just love. And all the maps are actually different from each other to reflect the time that they're in. I thought the spaceship one kind of looked bland, but at least it was easy to read. I was sad that was what all the maps were going to kind of look like, and then we got to Edo, Japan, and I saw the really cool map and was kind of happy. And now onto the music, and honestly nothing really jumped out at me as like really good, but also nothing was really bad, so I'm sure the music will actually get better as the game goes on, so we see like new bosses and all those different areas. But the sound effects were really good for these kind of remakes, and I'm glad they're here. Overall, I really enjoyed the demo and highly recommend you check it out on the Nintendo eShop to get your own opinions. And I'd be excited to play this game on Nintendo Switch July 22nd, if another big JRPG wasn't coming out less than a week later. Sorry Live Alive, I'll play you as soon as I can, I promise. This demo is really fun, even if I was disappointed with how the first two demos kind of went over. So yeah, if there are any other games you want to know my first thoughts on, let me know. And if you want to see my other first thoughts, you can watch them in this playlist. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, have a good day, and goodbye!